Hey everybody, Dwayne Urban, Urban Defense, and today I'm here with another tactical tip. Before we get started, you should note that there are differing opinions on all of these topics. What we teach in our classes is what we believe to be the most up-to-date, accurate, and tactically correct content. Our instructors are certified police firearms instructors in the state of Maryland. When you take one of our classes, you can expect to get the highest quality of instruction. Anything less is unacceptable, and your life just might depend on it. Today's tactical tip centers on the clearing of malfunctions. This is a topic we cover in our classes, and one that our students have a lot of interest in. So let's go ahead and get started. The first malfunction that we're going to visit is going to be the misfire. Now the misfire occurs when you would have an otherwise loaded gun and you drop the hammer and you get click instead of boom, i.e. like this. Now in order to solve this problem, we first need to assess it. We're going to drop our elbows so that we can see the action and we can assess what's going on. You will assess all malfunctions in this fashion, or whatever fashion you deem appropriate, so that you can see the action of the gun. Now, we have assessed, we see that the gun is in battery, it has failed to fire. We need to remedy that problem. Now, when we do our tactical classes, we talk about doing a left side step. I'm not going to do that here for the purposes of this demonstration, and that'll be described in another video. But so now that we've assessed this problem, we're going to go ahead into our workspace, which is here. Now, workspace is also discussed in another video, and I'm not going to go over it right now in this video. But we're going to go into our workspace, and we need to make sure that the magazine is seated. So we slap the bottom of the magazine. Now, if the magazine was not to be correctly seated, when you charge the weapon, it may not have fed around. So we want to make sure the magazine is seated by providing a slap. Then we're going to come over the top of the slide, and we're going to aggressively rack the action. Now, what that does is it either feeds a round if one hadn't been fed, or it ejects a round that is otherwise not going to fire for whatever reason, and feeds a fresh one. As we return back to the grip of the gun, we're going to give a tap to the rear of the slide to ensure that the gun is in battery. Then we will come back up on target, and we will do what we need to do. The malfunction I want to talk about now is the stovepipe, also known as the smokestack. Now this occurs when the round is fired and the spent casing doesn't fully eject from the ejection port, and instead it gets jammed here inside of the action. Now typically, as the slide's coming forward to jam this piece of brass into the action, it is feeding another round. Now the way we have to solve this is we have to sweep it off. I'm going to show you how now. As always, we assess the problem before we solve it. So I've assessed, I see that there's a piece of brass sticking out from the top. It's a smokestack. The way I'm going to fix it is come into my workspace, find my front sight with my weak hand, and sweep it off. You're going to sweep it off very aggressively and right along the top of the slide. And imagine yourself actually slapping your shoulder, because that's what you're going to do. On your way back to taking your grip on the gun, you will give it a tap, then take your grip again. The malfunction we're going to discuss now is known as the double feed. Now this occurs when the casing is not extracted upon the firing of the gun, and the slide comes back forward on a live round, which then jams into the rear of that unextracted round. Now this could also be caused if a magazine is old or worn or something's wrong with it, and it wants to feed both rounds together at the same time. Regardless of what the cause is we have to solve it. And the way that we're going to solve it is going to be as such. We come up on target, and the gun fails to fire. We assess the problem as always, and I can see through the open action that it is clearly a double feed. This looks very different than a smokestack and very different than a misfire. In order to solve this problem, I will turn the gun into my workspace. Now this type of malfunction takes a little bit of time to solve, so hopefully you're finding cover right now. The first thing I need to do after getting into my workspace is I need to lock the slide to the rear using the slide stop. That'll take the pressure off the rounds in the magazine and inside of the action here. Once I've done that, I can press the magazine release button and pull out that magazine and put it into my pocket or wherever I'm going to stow it while I do this fix. I'll come up on the gun, whack it a couple of times, and then lock it to the rear. After doing so, I will look into the chamber as I'm pulling out this magazine, feed it, rack it, tap it, and back up on it. I hope you found this video on malfunctions to be useful. Remember, we assess the problem before we attempt to solve it. We do not try to solve problems until we've identified what that problem is. It's your responsibility to practice, practice, practice. Remember, failing to train is training to fail. I'm Dwayne Urban, and this is Urban Defense.